big reason people suffer these days is because they do not understand the 13 sacred keys of life. They're actually just called the 13 sacred keys, and I'm going to read some scripts here. So don't pay attention to my eyes, pay attention to the message being portrayed here. Let's get to it. Embracing the 13 sacred keys in your life is essentially giving yourself permission to be vulnerable, and allowing yourself to experience life is a direct expression of your soul. So, it takes courage and fortitude to be bold enough to face your inner shadow, and but the rewards that you'll get from this will transform the way that you live with love and experience over your lifetime here on Terra, Earth, Gaia. And these 13 sacred keys, they've been revised on this realm. They've been said that they're the 10 Commandments in Christianity and Egypt, the 42 laws of Ma'at, and more throughout different religions. But if we can all just take a look at the 13 sacred keys and realize that everything is interconnected, we could be smarter and not disrespect other people's time so that we don't disrespect the Most High. I'm going to explain how all this ties in right now. And, all of these laws are about mastering your life with love and joy. And I'm only going to go through 3 laws of these 12 universal laws from the 13 sacred keys. And I'm going to basically explain through those 3 how and why you shouldn't be disrespecting other people's time, so that you're not disrespecting the Most High, which in turns returns suffering through one of the other laws, which is the law of polarity, I think. But I'm going to start with the law of divine oneness. This one explains that it's the first and most foundational law of the universe, and it highlights the interconnectedness of all things. Once you lift the veil a little bit and go past dimensions, you realize that not everything is separate at all. We're all interconnected with all things, and it's way beyond our senses. It's beyond our every thought, action, and events in some way. It's connected to anything and everything else. So how do we apply this rule? We can apply it in real life by being compassionate with others and recognizing that we are all one. So if you're disrespecting someone's time and you're not being compassionate with them, but you're still staying there because you have a gain from it, which could be comfort, money, pleasure, whatever it may be, you're just disrespecting the Most High and the interconnectedness of all beings, Stay centered. The next law that I'm going to explain here is the law of correspondence. And this law states that the patterns repeat throughout the universe and on a personal level, and that our reality is a mirror of what's happening inside of us at that moment. So as we think of as above, so below, as within, so without, we can apply this law by realizing that everything in this life that happens, it's happening for you and not to you. Many people take a victim mentality and be like, oh, why me, why you? It's happening for you, not to you. Maybe you weren't aware of these sacred keys, but this is to bring knowledge and then suffering, escape samsara. If our life is chaotic and fearful, then that's because there is chaos and fear within us. So if our life seems calm and grounded, it's because we feel peace within. That's basically how we'll apply this law. The third law I'm going to explain from the 12 universal laws is the law of cause and effect. This is one reason many people do not believe in karma. They say it's just all cause and effect. And the law of cause and effect is relatively straightforward. This law highlights the direct relation between actions and events. And we often can't see the effects right away, but they eventually come back around, you know, and then we hit that realization of how what we caused affected us, you know. So how we apply this law is that we trust every action will have a reaction, good or bad. And what you put out may not come back to you right at that moment, but the vibration and the energy that you leave out on this realm, you know, you put out there, it has a ripple effect. It's like a little ripple, a little wave. And if you're coming from a place of anger, resentment, you put that energy out there, you'll eventually be affected as the result, you know. So I'm gonna explain now how I learned this the hard way, how I learned that disrespecting somebody's time is disrespecting the Most High. And the way I did this was by getting in a soul tie. I got inside of a soul tie where I truly believe my happiness field was burning out. You know, my happiness, it was fueled, let's say, by candles of pleasure, you know. And you know, happiness fueled by pleasure, that's gonna burn out. You know, that candle is just gonna burn out. But it wasn't. This relationship wasn't fueled by purpose. It was fueled by purpose, but it was very selfish on my end to take advantage of another person so that I could gain intellect, so that I can make this video now, so nobody ever has to suffer. You know, on the same way I did. But people are still gonna suffer because not everyone's gonna watch this video and everyone's gonna be connected with this information. But a happiness fueled by purpose, that holds the flame, you know. If we think of a happiness hold by purpose, like a candle, that's the flame that never goes out. So what I'm getting at is, I got in a false archetype twin flame soul tie relationship, you know. And I knew at a certain point that I wasn't going to be staying with this individual, you know, this lady, this girl. And that's how I disgraced the Most High. That's how I was put in a situation where I was disrespecting somebody else's time, and at the same time I was disrespecting the Most High. What that caused, through cause and effect, is I got disconnected from source. I used to achieve light codes, you know, from a universal source field, and it would always come right here, the third eye, and then I would know what to say, what video to make, how to do this. I disconnected myself from source, and that's why I'm doing the shadow work here, because the Most High is asking for me to do shadow work so that I can get back and connected with my auric field, you know, my authentic self. Because I was being inauthentic, disrespecting somebody else's time. So the Most High straight up said, nah, you can't do that. You're getting your disconnection from source. We're taking your armor of God, you know, and I suffered for that. And it took me a little while to realize why. That's another reason I'm making this video, you know. And another thing I'll say is that all suffering is caused by being in the wrong place. So if you're unhappy where you are, move. See, I was in a soul tie, which makes it a little harder to leave. That's like tying a knot with the other person around them and making it real tight until I could cut those cords and be released. And you know, I really realized that I was like a brick leaking arrogance, you know? Like if you're pouring water on me and I'm a brick, I would be arrogant, and I was staying stuck, rather than being a sponge soaking humility, because I think it's a little humiliating. I have to explain this, but it's the best. It's what the Most High wants for me to get back in tune with myself and continue to ascend out of this third dimensional matrix that I can't no longer be stuck in. Either way, I was taking up the time of another person, and nor was I being respectful at all times. It was at a certain point in time where I realized I was being disrespectful. And that came from another sacred law where I was being disrespected, so I became disrespectful. But I realized it, and at that point I just cut off all connections and I moved on. I moved on real quick, because I realized that the more time I spend disrespecting the other person, you know, like at the time where I realized I wasn't going to stay with her, we were maybe in a 3 months relationship, and I continued that for another 3 months, which was agonizing suffering, you know. Like I don't want people sitting around there waiting like they're uncertain to be chosen, because I was giving like a lot of signs that I wasn't gonna choose them, you know. And if you can't give them all their attention, then it's better that you give them none at all. And that's a big reason that I've cut connections from a lot of people, friends, family. This doesn't always tie in with relationships, you know, disrespecting other people's time. This ties in with anybody's time. So yeah, man. If you can't be there fully, then don't be there at all. Thank you guys for listening. This is Dad Show 777. Peace out. Just gonna add a quick message right here, even though it's after the end of the video. Before making this video, I was given a sign by God, my higher self, intentionally, that this person isn't right for me, because I was sitting on the street with my bicycle, right, and a car. I was kind of sitting in the middle of the street, you know, and I'm a courier, and then these people behind me, they basically started explaining about my job and about the person next to him. Weren't you supposed to work for them or something? And I start getting this bad feeling in my head, like I start feeling energy before I see my ex, you know, who I'm gonna, this is maybe 2 minutes right before I see my ex. This car comes awfully close to me, swerving left, doesn't crush my toes or anything, but goes past. And then the people behind me that were with me, they started screaming at the car, or one of them specifically started cussing at him. And I viewed this as a sign, because the guy opened the door, looked at him, and he was like, "Watch out for this kid, so you don't run over kids on the street. Watch how you turn." And he was like, "I'll break your jaw." And then the person who got out of the car just went back in the car and sped off. But 2 minutes later, I'm riding my bicycle up a lane where the person whose time I disrespected was coming down on the other side. And she said stop, but I moved by so fast, I said no way. And I took this as a sign from the Most High, because the people were trying to protect me basically 2 minutes before I passed by this person. And that's why I said no way and went really fast past, because I no longer wish to disrespect their time, so that I don't disrespect the Most High. So I said no way, and I continued forward. And that's another reason I'm making this video, so you can get the message out there clear that sometimes the Most High will give you signs if you're disrespecting someone else's time, and He will protect you to make sure you don't do so. Thank you for your time.